All right, what's going on, guys? It's Tanner back with the Fire Within podcast. I got a friend with me today, John Phillips. What's going on, buddy?
How you doing?
Pretty good, man. If you just go ahead and tell everybody a little about yourself, what brought you here, and we'll get started with this.
Well, my name's John Phillips. I work for Marion County Fire Rescue. I'm a firefighter paramedic. I've been there 13 years, going on 13 years now. Thank you for having me. Here to tell my story about everything, whatever it may be. Talk about how I got here. Talk about my life, whatever you need, whatever you want.
Cool. So we were talking earlier today, before the conversation about like our childhood, whatever, about how we knew from a young age that we were different.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
We
I'm 31 years old, bro, but I've known since I was like 3 that I was not like everybody else.
Right. I mean, that's how when I first met you, me and you, we kind of, it was like an abrasive friendship. It was an abrasive thing where I was like, oh my God, it is what it is. But because we're so alike.
Yeah.
So
I remember one of the first one of the first contacts I had together. You said something to me, and I said, you're like, somebody asked me or told me, oh, you just want to be like John. I'm like, some mid-30s divorced.
That's exactly what
single
you said.
dad.
That's exactly. And I respect that. I take that. It is what it is. Like, it's at a young age, when we talk about being even as kids, we are different. We are 100% different. That's why I look at you and your whole story has made me, has defined my story. It's made me want to get better and become who I am and just be a better person as it is.
Yeah.
For a long time though, like growing up, I looked at myself as an outsider, as like a different person. People were like, John's crazy, he's erratic, and that I'm pretty much insane. Like when it comes to it, I'm insane. But
you're not known for being the most calm person.
Yeah, level-headed. Yeah, that's not my forte. I'm not exactly like somebody you come to if you want some calm advice. But yeah, I mean, I've embraced that. For a long time, I also embraced like my whole sometimes growing up being the villain. You could be the villain. You kind of embrace that and you want to be the best at it. But since my recovery and my getting help, even just watching you, it has brought me forward to like, hey man, this is my story. I've seen you tell your story. But as kids, you're right, man. We were different. I would watch people and wonder like, why can't I do stuff that they can do?
Yeah.
Like why can't I have like conversations? Because my mind is already going 10 miles ahead of you. It's just how it was.
I was like, I don't know about you, but like when I was a kid, I was extremely like attention seeking. Like, I don't know if it was like some subconscious thing or whatever, but I think as somebody in recovery, somebody that's dealt with it for a long time, I know from a young age I've always been self-seeking, attention-seeking. Everything's always about me,
right?
And that caused a lot of strain in a lot of relationships, and it caused me a lot of. I just didn't fit in well with other people,
right?
I overreacted to things. I was just different.
Absolutely.
So like say like even though you're addict alcoholics, bro, like I was an alcohol. I did everything alcoholically from day one.
Right.
Even my mom says like we used to live in Germany when my dad was in the military. I would take the last little like half-inch of beer people would leave, and I would just go around the house just drinking it.
Yeah. But is that you got to think about back then? Was it the chemical, or was it the being defiant side of that? You know what I'm saying? Like it could be the defiant side. So, I'm the same. I was the same way. I said like my mom would throw a cigarette out when I was like 4 or 5, and I'd go pick it up because I knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that I was chemically dependent on that.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to try it. To see what it was about. Like I was a defiant child. Like that's just how my parents couldn't control me. I was a good kid. I just was very. I'm going to do my own way. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to figure it out. No matter how many mistakes I make, I'm going to do it how I want to do it.
Absolutely.
That's just how it was. Yeah. I get that from my dad. I think we get that from our genetic coded. I think that's just how we are.
I don't know how it is, but I definitely know that addicts, alcoholics, and people with, any other kind of issues are definitely wired way differently than quote unquote normies. What you wanted to define normal as,
what is
I
normal?
don't. Yeah, I don't. What is normal?
There's normal's it's different strokes for different. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But every day I have to wake up myself in the mirror and make a conscious effort to either change who I was going to be or change who I am at this given point, or go down the path of who I, obviously was what I'm supposed to be. So some days I win, some days I lose.
Yeah.
But any type of chemical, substance abuse, alcohol, whatever, it only hides that. You have to face the world sooner or later. You have to. You don't have a choice. And that's what this job, I think, this job makes it very easy to just hide yourself into alcohol and hide yourself into substance abuse. I think it's very, very easy.
I mean, look at how we do everything in the fire service, and I hate to say it, but I mean, you celebrate for promotion. What do? You go out the crew,
get drunk,
go drinking.
Yeah.
Funerals. What do you do afterwards?
Get drunk. Yep. Absolutely.
Babies are born. Everything. The wedding. All the wedding pictures of people.
Everybody's wasted.
Everybody's wasted. It's unfortunate, and I don't like to group all of us into that category. Right. Not all of us are alcoholics, but that's just kind of like how we do things.
Yes, there's some traditions in this job and the fire service that need to be taken out.
I wouldn't say removed. Just I have to remove myself from them.
Yes, I agree. But there's like the things where we wet down a truck and push it in the bed. On a brand new truck, that's stuff that we need to pass on.
Yeah.
We need to teach new guys that.
Absolutely.
That's a huge thing. We need to teach the origin of the Maltese Cross. We need to teach the Dalmatian. We need to teach all those things need to be taught. But we also need to teach that these stigmas of like being a tough guy. Hey, be tough.
Screw that, dude.
No, that's got to go out the window.
It has to.
ASAP. Like that should be our focus. Especially our department, we are progressive. We are extremely aggressive. We're probably I would say, and I'm biased, we're probably the best department in the state. And I'm from Miami. I'm from Dade County.
Yeah.
But our leaders, our tenants, all of our brass, like they're just amazing people, but we lack so much mental health. Mm-hmm. And that needs to get brought to the forefront immediately.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree, dude. Yeah, dude, it's crazy, man. Like, because I think different people take different routes to the fire service, right? So some people are like, some people were born to be firefighters.
Sure.
And then there was others, that were kind of, I wouldn't say forced in the profession, but kind of, I hate to say it because it makes others look bad, that, that were kind of put in a position where they really had nothing else to do.
Right. Right.
But
there's also people that work in this profession that should have been something like a scientist or like I could sit here and name 2 or 3 people that work with us that are, that I worked under myself. I would look at them and just be like, wow.
Starts with a P and ends with an egg.
Yes. Yeah. Or even starts with a Scott, ends with a Chapel. Or Todd Muter. Todd Muter. Like Todd Muter is so. He's amazing. It's a once in a department's generation.
Yeah.
You will never have somebody ever again that good.
No.
Scott Chapel same way, and even all the way down to like Scott Gregan. Even Scott Gregan, it's a different mentality. Scott Gregan's a fireman.
Yeah.
Where just people that I looked up to, at least in this job, in this profession, like Bobby Ramage, Chief Ramage will always be in my heart. Kaufman will always be in my heart. People like that. Even Lonnie Blackburn. I look at Lonnie Blackburn, Joe Renato. Those are people that, again, I'm getting specific to our department. I know.
Chiefs.
I'm trying to get promoted. That's the thing. Into whatever. Get rid of my discipline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's all walks of life. This job is something that is bringing people from all walks of life. It's not just Irish and Italian like it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's people that are smart, not so smart.
Yeah.
People that are attention deficit, like just like me. Like that's the reason why I got in this job. I think I could not sit behind a desk. My attention span is my 7-year-old son has more attention than me. So it is what it is. We got to embrace it all though. To be a good fireman, it takes a lot of things. This is a craft. Pablo Jenner will always talk about like embrace this job. As a craft. Firemanship.
Absolutely.
One of those things. I'm
gonna cut for a second. Yeah. So like, sorry about that cut for a second. But like I think going back, you talk about firemanship and and I wouldn't say there is a stigma, 100% that's been drawn into this profession, and I don't think necessarily it's just in the profession. I think it's a masculine thing, you know,
It's
in
being macho.
general.
Being macho.
And I think we're kind of in this um, in between, you know, times of like where these guys are growing up and they were kind of taught to suppress feelings and suppress their emotions, and now we're in this new age where everybody's taught to be open, and we're kind of in that in between tweener stage where you don't really know what to do.
Right.
Like nobody's gonna dog you for coming out and saying you have a problem, but I'm not gonna say they're gonna like knock you for it.
Sure.
But you know, kind of everybody's on tiptoes around you. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. It's eggshells. They don't want to. They don't want to be like, oh, he's got a problem. You know. They don't want to say, hey, listen, he's one of us. He's still one of us, no matter whether he's got a problem or not. You know, we are firemen. We should be held to a higher standard. I understand that. Even at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we go through a lot of trauma. We go through a lot of things. We see things that the average people don't see.
Yeah.
So, embracing one of our own who comes and says they have a problem, we need to surround that person with love and acceptance and say, listen, this is not who he is right now. Who he is who he was before he started having this problem. That's
Absolutely.
what it is. I think it's, we gotta protect each other. We gotta stop worrying about, the department as a whole to protect you. Worry about the brother next to you. You know what I'm saying? So,
and I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say that, like, when somebody's going through something and there's obvious outward signs that people are in distress.
Sure.
And I think most people can recognize that, but it's kind of hard to bring that up to somebody, because you don't know what kind of reaction they're gonna have. Because I know for me, the longest time I would have sat there and lied to your face and said I'm fine. You know,
some of your brothers, some of us would have said the same thing. Like, no, Tanner's good, man. He's no, because when you talk, remember we talked about the drug, pretty much like the department's or any department's stance on drug abuse. It's looked at as test positive, done, it's over. And that's going to send somebody into a tailspin of, I never see that person again. And if as a brotherhood, we protect each other, and that's what we do. And I fully understand that, but there was people who were enabling you, enabling, like, I tell some people that I haven't seen in a while, I'm like, hey man, like I'm sober, even when I was just like 2 months sober, hey man, I'm 8 weeks. They're like, oh,
how long do you have now?
13 weeks.
Really?
No, yeah, 13 weeks.
It's a miracle for guys like you, dude.
Holy shit! Like, crazy thing, being sober. People look at me, they're like, John, you're extra right now. Like you're even off the walls. I'm like, this is me sober. That's the thing. I'm crazy. You're
still crazy, dude.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things. And I'm not saying it's mental. It's who I am. I'm very eccentric. I'm very, my childhood, I think it was one of those things where, like, I loved entertaining people. Growing up, I don't know if I was like unhappy inside myself, but I loved making people laugh. And I loved making people smile. So, like, I lived vicariously.
Absolutely.
That was one of those things. I loved attention. I loved showing people how much, watch people laugh, or even gifts. Like, I give gifts and stuff like that. I love seeing people happier more than I love seeing myself happy. It is what it is. We try to we got to embrace, back to the getting a little off track here.
No, let me speak on the whole stance on the drugs in the workplace deal. Yeah, I can understand workplace environment and how departments would want to label themselves as drug-free workplaces, and I can even understand from an outsider looking in, the one strike policy. But one of the reasons I'm so against the idea of a completely drug-free workplace, and this sounds kind of counterintuitive, I don't believe drugs belong in the workplace, but I think that kind of stance, listen, I've always been taught, man, like, we deal with these people as we would a sick person, whereas, let's see, it goes back to what I was talking to you about before. That one, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day, and in addicts and alcoholics, the decision making part of the brain is literally rewired to where it's that sympathetic drive where your you're just like I said, your decision making capabilities, your body, your mind tells you screw food, screw water, screw the things I need. I'm gonna get what I need to feel better
At all costs.
at all costs.
And you turn into a person of like master manipulator.
Yeah.
What it is, you turn into like, oh, I'm good. It's you'll do whatever it takes to get whatever substance it is. So, like it turns into a mental illness.
Yeah.
Period. Or it was started as a mental self-medicate.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's why, man, because even if like you could have told me a couple of years ago that I had a physical in, let's say, 3 weeks,
right,
and I wouldn't have stopped.
No.
I would have found a way around it.
Yeah.
And if I got fired, then so be it. I'd have dealt with it. I'd have dealt with it then.
We get to that point though, where it's like, like it turns into, and I'm not trying to get specifics with me at least, but it turns into one of those things where like, hey, like my anxiety is so bad, right? To where, if I get caught, I get caught. I can't live with this anxiety in my, I at this point it's, you choose, it's almost like you choose.
It's that rewiring of the brain.
It is, man.
You don't choose.
You don't.
That's the thing.
You're right.
You've lost all.
That's exactly what it is. You don't choose. It's your instincts turn.
Yeah.
You turn into like just get me whatever makes me feel better.
Exactly.
And even then, like when you're going through that, you even manipulate yourself.
Yeah.
You start blaming other people. Like I had, at least my experience, my own story. Somebody who I loved, I looked up to as a brother to me. I followed him. I'm not gonna mention names, but I followed him from almost my whole career. I looked up to him as he was I love the man more, as much as a family member. He's my brother. I was blaming him for the reason why bad things were happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was blaming him, and I held this like angst towards him. But like once I took responsibility for my own actions, I took responsibility to say, hey, no, it's not his fault. It's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I let him down. I let him, I basically pushed it all on him. Like, oh, it's this guy. It's his fault. Why, this happened. Why that happened. But it's me. It's my own, it's my own actions that got me to where I'm at. So the second I did that, it was like, boom, like this freeing, this almost like this weight's been lifted off me, you know? I think we hold ourselves accountable as addicts, and you have to do that. If you don't, you're going to fall short every time.
Yeah. And that's, one of the programs I work, and obviously, I don't think you're familiar with it, but one of the deals in the program I work is obviously taking a personal inventory.
Yes.
And noticing your place in every resentment or every thing that's ever happened to you, everything that bothers you. Because I can think of several instances where I've gotten into with people, and 99.9% of the time, if I hadn't have done one thing, or if I hadn't fueled it even further than where it should have been, it wouldn't have gotten to the extent where it was. Right. And so it was also almost like a control thing, man. I like to control the situation.
Oh yeah.
And even though I can't do anything about it, so.
But you think you do.
Yeah, but you think you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole thing with my experience. My thing was, I don't know about when you hit your bottom point. When I hit my bottom point, I mean, I don't want to get in specifics, but the same person who I was telling the world and myself that I hate, that I despise, it's his fault, is the first person that I called. And the first person I said, hey man, like I have a problem and I'm sorry I let you down. And what he said to me back was, you didn't let me down, I'm proud of you. It literally, my whole mind turned into, I'm gonna be okay. I don't need this bullshit in my life. I don't need this. Sorry, I don't need this substance in my life, and I'm sick and tired of like making excuses for myself. Yeah. We always found. I don't know about your story, but with me, I'd always find an excuse of why everything was going bad when really it was my own abuse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I don't know, man. Because I've hit several bottoms. Um, and this last time I had more repercussion, but I think this last time I was more so tired of like being pitiful, like being looked at as like that, like pitiful, like
Right.
sorry dude. Like
Yeah.
I was
Like
just tired of waking up and feeling sorry for myself every day.
like oh man, there's Tanner.
I
Like
feel like I let everybody down. You know?
it's wild though. You know, we also look at it as you think everybody like looks at you as like this, lack of a better term, a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But really, nobody looks at you like that. They almost look at you. Think it, I think a lot of it's in our head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where we're like, oh my god, you know, everybody has to like look at me and like just watch me decline. And
Oh,
like,
I can.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
can over analyze everything.
Everything, and that's what we do. You think everybody thinks like, oh my, you know, he looks like he's on drugs, but really nobody. You know, I mean, people that are close to you can realize like, oh shit, you know, don't look too good, but.
Yeah.
You know,
there was no hiding it from me at the end.
No.
I was like 215 pounds.
No.
My eyes were sunken.
Yeah.
And like.
And now you're like straight jacked and juicy, just
jacked and juicy,
260 something, just jacked and juicy. You know, and I saw you, I'm like, oh, first when I walked in here, I'm like, oh man, your legs look good. Like, I had to like recheck myself. Like, wait a minute, I gotta work out my legs or something. But yeah, man, we gotta. My biggest thing is, you know, when I would tell people that looked out for me, you know, like there's certain people in this department that literally looked out for, you know, that I went to, that I trust and that I loved, you know, more than anything. And those people, we owe it to those people who stood by us at our hardest times and stood by us at times when like we didn't even love ourselves, which is an everyday thing for me. I'm still learning how to respect myself and still love myself, because fall back on that substance or whatever it may be. You know, like just we talk about addiction, there's everything, dude. Like we're not talking about drugs. We're not talking. It could be drugs, alcohol. It could be sex. It could be
working
out. It could be food. It can be video games. It could be anything under the sun. Addiction is such a wide spectrum that it preys on fire service.
Absolutely.
You know, it preys on everything about us. It's just who we are.
I think we just do a better job of hiding it.
Yes, we do. We do a better job, and I think we have a harder time coming to terms with our problems because we're so used to people calling on us when they're in their hardest time that, you know, you don't want to be one of those people. You don't want to be that weak person, but you're not being weak when you come forward. You're being as strong as that's your strongest point. When you come into your brothers and you say, I have a problem, or you come to your family, I have a problem, or you come to your supervisor and say, I have a problem. Like, just once you say you have a problem, it was when I tell you, buddy, it was like a weight was lifted off me, because I was already telling people what they already knew. You know, people were watching me decline. They were watching me like, there goes John, you know, like any day now I can go off the rails, or any day he would literally, but you're just basically, once you say you have a problem, it's, you know, in our, I don't know about other departments, but our department, we've come a long way, but we're still not where we need to be.
No.
But our EAP program and shout out to Alex Caban for, I gotta name drop him, because that guy's a saint. You know, he's overwhelmed right now. You know, there's people having problems right now that we really need to come forward and say, hey, like, we all need to come together and help each other. But we got people right now that are working overtime on the AP program.
And as a department, I think we've come so far, even from when I first started. You know, next month will be 7 years for me. Not a long time in the fire service.
That's a big chunk, though.
Yeah.
You know?
But we've gone from this department that's focused solely on, you know, getting guys money and retaining to I wouldn't say we fixed all that 100%, but we've been able to kind of focus less on that because we're kind of a lot better than we were, and focus more on the guys as people. You know what I'm saying? And also for me, when I came forward, you know, I went to rehab twice in 2 years in the last, you know, from 2018. I went to 2018 and then I went in 2019. The first time I was met with love, compassion. The second time, you know, it was a little harder on the people that cared about me.
Sure.
They were a little frustrated, and as was I, for good reason. But I was taken aback by the individuals that came forward and said, do what you got to do. Like
Right.
we've been there. Like not it might not necessarily been substance or whatever, but I went through a divorce. I saw, I have PTSD. This, that, and the other.
Right.
Um, and I know in my lowest point, one of the most important things that anybody could have done for me was just love me, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
That's because you didn't love yourself.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember in 2018, an individual who's now a freshly promoted division chief, and I'll go ahead and say his name, Tim Moody. One of the most solid guys.
Solid man.
I mean, I respect
as a man,
him.
not even just
Yep,
a fireman,
just a
as
man.
a chief, as a man, solid man.
He saw what I was going through. I was sitting there at the station, and I was having a conversation with somebody, and I had no idea what he needed to do. It wasn't with Tim initially; it was somebody else. And they're like, "What do you need, Tanner?" And all of a sudden, it was like something came over me. It was like, "I need to go to freaking rehab.
Yeah, I need help.
I need help." And I go and talk to Lieutenant. It was Lieutenant Moody at the time.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, "Brother, do what you got to do." And he gave me a hug, and I went home. And unfortunately, for the next 3 days, I got rid of what I was doing.
Yeah.
And but it's people like that in my life who are so strong but so vulnerable at the same time.
Absolutely.
That share with me their story.
Which is crazy to me because like I look at Tim Moody doesn't seem like a type of person who has any experience with any type of substance abuse. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at that man, you're like he's perfect. We hold that type of people on a pedestal. Like I can never go to him. I can't go to him because he doesn't understand this. The person I went to out of pure instincts. I love him. But to look at Tim, like when I see Chief Moody, I'm like I tuck my shirt in a little more. I make sure like my badge looks good. But for you to go to him, that takes strength, man. That takes, but you had that relationship with him, right? That guy, he literally told you whatever you need, which is big love to Tim Moody.
We made the arrangements. I went home right then and there, and 3 days later, I was in detox.
Yeah.
It's guys like that,
And you'll never forget that.
No.
You'll
never forget that.
You're in debt to him for the rest of your life.
I wouldn't say in debt to him for the rest of my life, but I do owe him
absolutely
a lot more than
most.
Yeah. And it's guys like that, being in the fire, just life in general, you learn a lot of things about leadership, right? And one of the most important things I've learned is to get respect, you've got to give respect.
Sure.
And he respected the fact that I was going through some stuff and I had to do some things.
Right.
And I couldn't work, dude. I couldn't physically work.
Right.
I was so weak and so malnourished, my hair was falling out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And how many people, for every one Tim Moody, there's 10, which is, this is sad to say, but it's the truth, and I'm going to say it, is there's 10 people that would turn their back on you and be like, ooh, he's going through some problems. I don't want nothing to do with that. I want to, even people you thought were your friend.
But it's, I can't blame them.
Right.
Because, like, if I didn't have an issue with substance, or if I didn't have an issue with mental illness right then and there, that would almost be intimidating to me.
Sure.
I wouldn't know how to handle you. Right. I don't want your blood on my hands.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, especially since, we've lost two people. So.
And we'll talk about that for a second. And I don't want to stay on it for too long.
Yeah, no.
But,
But it needs to be brought.
It needs to be brought up.
To the surface.
When Emilio, right? Emilio hit me hard because I saw myself right there. Not necessarily, Emilio is a vet. He's been through a lot more.
Yes.
He's seen a lot more than I have. But I get what it feels like to think that the only way out is
taking it. It's I wasn't close with Emilio, but I've worked with him a few times to where I know like he was intense.
Yeah.
He was 100% or 0%. He was one speed go.
Yeah.
I think we learned a lot as a department. We learned a lot as a whole from Emilio. and I don't want to, you know, during the time when it happened, I had some like kind of not resentment, but I was like, how could he do this to us? How could he do this to his son? How could he do this to people that loved him, or you know, even cared about him, or you know, why would he do this? Like I can't believe he would do that. But until you're in those shoes, which I've been in,
yeah,
you don't really you can't even have an opinion on that.
No.
Like I look back and I'm like, damn, I was wrong. I was 100% wrong for even being mad at him for that, because I've been in those shoes where you just want that pain to stop.
Yeah.
You just want that feeling to go away. You want to feel nothing at that point.
Exactly.
Instead of feeling nothing is better than feeling what you feel.
Yeah. And I think what Gary's doing with this whole situation is
awesome.
Absolutely unreal. Dude.
Unreal.
It brings like I get goosebumps thinking about it.
Gary picked up that torch and he's running with it, and you can't, you know, whatever. Shout out to Gary. Whatever you need, I'll be there for you. If you need anybody that needs anything, I'll do whatever it takes. We can. I commend you for doing that for your brother.
You know, I think it's so great, man, because you see people. There's like almost two different ways people go with that kind of stuff. They can either sit around, throw a pity party for themselves, woe is me, and just kind of let everything kind of, I wouldn't say decline, but, or you can do with this, you know, let it not happen in vain. Let's not make this happen.
Yeah.
Let's not let this happen again. You know, honor his memory.
It's almost like you celebrate his life instead of you know, grieving his death. And that's one thing as his brother, man. My hat's off to him. Like Gary definitely picked up the torch and he kept on going with it. You know,
bro, he busts his ass.
He does. Yep.
He didn't just listen. He didn't just sit around and wait for things to happen.
Yep.
Like from day one, like it was the Emilio Rivera Foundation. This is what I'm doing. He's put a guy through fire school.
Yeah.
He's putting a guy through treatment. Like
money for Nano, stuff like that. You know, that's, you can't. Gary's done a lot. That's a lot on his shoulders. He came back here. I don't know why Gary came back here, you know, but I think Gary might have come back here for possibly.
Yeah.
You know, I can't speak for him, but I think maybe he came back to carry on his name. You know, I'm not going to speak for the man, but we're glad to have him. I mean, he's a solid dude.
100%.
Yeah. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know, speaking on that also though, you know, when it happened, you know, I saw these, but you know, people, you know, they're putting you know, the black stripes across Marion County badge, you know, they're putting it on Facebook and stuff like that. And like, I don't know if you noticed, if you ever go back to those posts, like I was infuriated because we should probably not talk about that. Because, you know, like, you know, we have this awesome gym, you know, I'm not going to say the name, but we have an awesome gym now. You know, like we have this beautiful gym, you can go work out. What about mental health?
Yeah.
Where's our mental health facility?
Yeah.
You know, I commend us having an awesome gym, and I commend physical strength is great, but physical strength ain't shit. Yeah. You don't have mental strength.
And that's the thing, you know, you talk about not talking about it. We had that peer support thing started.
Yes.
And, you know, I think an important integral part of the peer support, you know, you have the program itself, and then you have guys outside of that program that you can just go to. Yeah. That's why it's important for guys like you and I to share a story.
Absolutely.
Because, bro, when I first started this thing, before I kind of fizzled out for a little bit, you'd be surprised the guys that came to me and said, thank you.
Yes.
Like you're telling my story.
It's you know, it's crazy you say that, because this is the main reason why I wanted to come here, because I wanted you to, I don't know if you remember this, man. You sit there and post things like, hey, I'm this far along sober, and I'm like, Tanner, I'm proud of you. You know, even though I wasn't. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Tanner, I'm proud of you. And I sit there and ask questions like, hey, Tanner, how hard is this? How, you know, what if it was just these little questions where you obviously that was me on a ladder looking for help. Mm-hmm. You know, I was slowly getting there, and like I don't remember me asking. You remember that when I'd ask you about that?
Yeah. I mean, you called me about it a couple times.
I'm like, hey, like, how do I do this, or how do I do that? You know, I
remember you saying like, I'm not sure if I'm ready, and I would just tell you, like, bro, like guys like you and me have to be in it. Like,
you got to be 100%.
Like, there's no
commit.
Like, there's no like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna drink, but I'm not gonna do this. Right. Like for me, like, bro, like I'm that kind of guy. No matter what substance or drink it is, one's too many and 1,000's never enough.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. It's if a little, you know, moderation is for cowards. You know, that's like an old. It's a saying that you know, but that's me and you. there's no such thing as we can't no such thing as moderation. We cannot have anything when it comes to stuff like that. We are so intense and so, lack of a better term, balls to the wall when it comes to that stuff. It's you can't, whatever it may be, man. We do everything with purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We do everything with, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it all.
So like we going back on the whole peer support thing, right? I think it's huge for firefighters to be there for firefighters, right? Because
we know each other.
it's not necessarily the things we see, you know. It's the dark humor. It's the BSing we can talk.
Yes.
You know, it's the way we talk to each other.
Yes.
So I went to the Center of Excellence in Maryland, and that was my third treatment center. I wouldn't say none of them worked, but this one hit me a little differently. It was being around my brothers, you know, and the other treatment centers I'd been to, I was always, you know, it was always kind of a younger crowd. Yes. Everybody's there, a little party, a little too much. Not everybody, you know. There's several people I know from the treatment centers before that are still sober today, but there was something about being around these men,
yes,
and women that were struggling right alongside with me.
How was that? Is it? The facility's awesome, huh?
Yeah, it's cool because they have like 4 station houses that have like recliners set up in a little half moon circle in front of the TV. Chow hall, all that stuff. Everybody's up 5-6 o'clock in the morning drinking coffee. You know, so I was smoking cigarettes. I was chiefing like 2 packs a day when I was getting sober.
Stress, man. Stress on your body. Get your body detox.
I needed something, bro.
Have to. Yeah, that's the thing. But you don't want to get caught up in that too. You know, like
I put on 30 pounds in 35 days. Because I went from doing what I was doing to eating like a maniac.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the thing, you know, up there, it's when you're surrounded by people that know the struggles you go through. Not just, I'm not talking about addiction. I'm talking about the day in and day out life of being a fireman, the day in, day out of being public service, the day in, you know, that whole lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. That's what that 100%. Is, man. It's, you have to, I don't care what anybody says, whether you embrace this job, whether you're a raw fireman or you're just like, hey man, that's how
it's here to pay your bills.
Yeah, but you still go through the hardships. We both go through the same hardships. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things, man. Being up there with your brothers like that, I agree. I 100% agree. You know, you go to these places, in local places where you can't really relate with people other than you're trying to get sober. You're both trying to get sober, but these from all walks of life, where up there you're trying to buy firemen. You know, that's very important. I think we need to put more money into that, sending people there that need it.
Yeah, it's like when I went to COE, right? You know, I don't have many calls that like really get to me, but I had one where I was in medic school when I was at the hospital, and it was a tough one. I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm not going to tell you what it was about, but I mentioned it when I was at down south at a treatment center, and I literally had a guy tell me he thought my problem was trivial compared to his breakup, and I looked at him. I'm like, you can go fly kite.
Yeah, let me throttle you through this drywall real quick one time. You know, like that. See, there's people like that though. You know, like, I see. I don't even see where he's coming. I don't. Oh, a girl broke up with me. Like, I get it, man. I understand that could be tragic in your eyes, but you don't understand what it's like to watch somebody's life get cut short. Yeah, you know.
And my thing is, I told my wife about this the other day, right? And you don't think about, like I said, not many calls really get to me. After a while, you kind of get numb.
You do.
It's part of the job.
Do you ever wonder if that's, not to cut you off, but if that's a part of that PTSD stacking up?
I don't know.
With that number, I don't know either.
Because here, like, I've never been diagnosed with PTSD, nor do I think I have it.
I don't think I have it either. I just think
sometimes you sit around and you think, like, and it doesn't really get to you, but you're like, holy shit. Like, dude, I had a couple weeks ago where it was like bad call after bad call after bad call. And like, I sat down after all of it happened and I was like, holy shit. Like, that was a shitty week.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, not many people could have gone through that.
Right.
And you just think about it. It's like, oh my God, like, I saw this and I didn't think about it until now. Like, you don't realize the magnitude of the things you're doing and saying until like you sit down and reflect on it. Like, oh my God, like
it's also on top of that combination of lack of sleep, a combination of lack of families, combination of stress of just, I know we all go through that. Even when you're at the station, you sleep all night. You don't really sleep all night.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. But like, I don't know if that's a combination or what. I don't know. I don't really know much about mental health. I know I'm crazy. What I'm saying? Like everybody knows I'm crazy. But and I can't talk about somebody's mental health or what causes it. But I do know, that we all go through the same exact thing of like where we get numb to, the calls we go through. We get numb to seeing things like that. It's people ask me like, "Oh, John, how do you deal with seeing people like that?" I'm like, this is the best way for me to explain it. Is I'm like a plumber fixing a pipe. I don't look. Yeah. We almost have to disconnect from people. You ever notice that? Like,
100%.
Like I'm a mechanic working on a car, even though that's a person and I'm a paramedic. But like you have no association. You disassociate yourself from that emotionally at that point. And then afterwards, I think maybe it hits you a little bit like, man, that was a single mom of 4 that's probably not going to make it, or that's a child, stuff like that. I think we all have triggers like that, man. We all have things where we have some kind of emotional connection to some calls,
Yeah. No, I think I witnessed, and that being said, I've had a lot of people say like, "Is that why you did what you did?" I'm like, no,
yeah.
Like I'm a drug addict.
Yeah, dude. No, I love drugs. That's what it was at the point.
Like, I was. Yeah.
But you were. It's not that you love drugs. I shouldn't say that. It's you're almost filling a void in your heart, or you're filling a void in your, in your chemical. I think a lot of addicts, whatever, maybe substance or behavior, I think we fill a void chemically. Mm-hmm. We give ourselves something that I think our body's missing. Or we think our body's missing. Yeah. But which goes all the way back to trauma as a kid. I don't really know, man. I just know that I need to stay away from anything that.
I just think some people are wired differently, man.
Like, yeah, and that could be it too. But I think you ever notice, like, the more I talk to you, the more I notice me and you are wired pretty alike. Yeah. And there's a lot of people like us.
You're just a little more outgoing than
I'm just a little crazier than you, I think. If maybe not, I'm just, off.
You show your crazy.
I do show my crazy. I think you, like, keep your crazy. Yeah, your crazy's in check. Mine's not. Mine just runs free.
I'm medicated.
Yeah. Some ponies aren't meant to be tamed. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know.
And that's another thing, man. Like, I'll harp on that just for a second. That's me. I'll harp on that for just a second. These guys go through this. You talk about stigma, right? And I know people in my life right now that will sit there and are adamant about not taking a pill, not doing therapy.
Yeah.
It goes back to the ideal of like we think of these people as sick men. That is my medication. Like, sure. Bro, like the stuff that I put myself through, this chemical imbalance, right. the addiction, the trauma.
Right.
Not necessarily from work, but buddy, there's other stuff I deal with. I blame myself for my kids' problems is my biggest issue.
Yeah. But that's something that we have. Yeah. Keep going.
Hear me out. That all create. This scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists were put on this earth for a reason. A medication is there for a reason.
100%.
It's because your brain's not working how it should be.
Right.
Psychotherapy is there for a reason because sometimes we're an addict or an alcoholic, you talk to them and they can relate to you.
Right.
These psychotherapists, psychologists can explain to you why you're making the decisions you're making.
Oh, yeah.
Or they're just kind of somebody to unload on and can offer you some kind of outsider advice.
Yes. So. That's not a family member that's not going to judge you, that you think's going to judge you. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there in your family and your friends that will not judge you, that love you for who you are. That's a big thing. What we all think as addicts and stuff like that, we tend to. I think we tend to think everybody's going to be like, oh, they're going to be disappointed in me, which is true.
Yeah.
We do think that, but it's the contrary. I think we need to turn to people who we have followed and loved, and whether it be family or friends, whatever it may be. We need to turn to those people because they obviously can see that you're not yourself, right? So a psychologist or a psychiatrist, whatever it may be, they go to school for all those years. They say, hey, listen, man, you're impulsive. You got this, you got that, you got this. I'm just not ready to go do that yet. I'm not
Yeah.
ready to go get psychoanalyzed. It's gonna be somebody's have to clear their schedule for a few months for me. I went to like 7 sessions.
You
Man.
need like a sleepover for
Yeah.
like a
Oh
week
yeah.
straight.
This lady. I went first time. She goes, "I'm not kidding you. Holy shit. Let's back up. Like, hold on. Like, and I think after like 7 sessions, we got to like where I was 10 years old, and she's like, I think I need to like refer you to somebody else. You're out there.
Yeah, dude.
It's one of those things, man. Yeah. It's again, we're wired different. I think we're all wired different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, trust me, I get it. So yeah, man. I know you kind of time's cutting a little short.
Oh yeah, I gotta
too,
get my kid. Today's the last day of school, man.
10:30.
Dad life.
Hashtag
dad life.
I got my 4-year-old in the other room. My 7-year-old's at school, so I gotta pick him up a little bit.
Today's the last day of school?
I don't know, maybe. My wife knows that. I don't know that stuff.
Off today?
I'm off today. I don't work till Sunday. I took yesterday, today, and the last shift off.
Swap?
Today I am.
I love swaps. I just don't like paying it back. let that be known, everybody.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all sitting around listening to ADHD mofos, spitter spatter, a bunch of random stuff here and there.
Thank you for having me, by the way. I appreciate
no worries,
it,
man. Definitely look forward to next time you come on, we'll definitely hear your story and not just random conversation.
Be ready for that.
We'll clear a couple hours.
Yeah, day or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right, buddy. Well, y'all have a good day. Thanks again, John, and
thanks for
listening to the Fire Within. Y'all take care.